The Galactic Council station floated in the darkness of space like a giant crystal flower. 300 species had built it together over thousands of years. It was the center of galactic civilization, and today it was full of noise and movement as delegates arrived for the monthly assembly. Ambassador Taiho Kim walked through the curved hallways alone. Other species moved past him without a second look. Some were tall creatures with scales that changed color. Others floated in water-filled suits. A few crawled on many legs, their bodies covered in hard shells. They all had one thing in common. None of them paid attention to the human. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council only 40 years ago. In a galaxy where some civilizations were millions of years old, humans were babies, newcomers, primitives who had barely learned to travel between stars. The other species tolerated them the way adults tolerate a child at a business meeting. Taiho did not mind the looks. He had learned patience during his 20 years as Earth's voice in this place. He had smiled through insults. He had nodded through rejection. He had watched humanity's requests for better trade deals fail again and again. And through it all, he had kept his true thoughts hidden behind a friendly face. The main assembly chamber was enormous. Platforms rose in circles around a central stage, each one designed for a different type of creature. Taiho took his place on the small human platform near the back. It was one of the worst positions in the room, far from the center of power. This was not an accident. High Chancellor Korvax stood on the central stage. He was a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms. His species, the Dominion, had ruled the council for 10,000 years. When he spoke, everyone listened. "We begin today's session with trade route adjustments," Korvax announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. "The Velith delegation has concerns about shipping delays in Sector 7. The insectoid Velith ambassador clicked and buzzed from his platform. Taiho understood the translation through his earpiece. The Velith wanted faster routes for their cargo ships. It was boring. It was routine. It was exactly the kind of meeting Taiho had attended hundreds of times before. Then the lights flickered. Every screen in the chamber went dark for a moment. Delegates looked around in confusion. Technical problems were rare on the station. The systems were ancient and well-maintained. Something was wrong. The central holographic display activated without warning. The image of High Chancellor Korvax disappeared. In its place stood a human woman in a military uniform. She had short black hair and eyes that looked like they were made of iron. Her face showed no emotion at all. Taiho recognized her immediately. Admiral Hannah Park, commander of Earth's entire space fleet. She was supposed to be on Earth, attending a ceremony for new officers. She was not supposed to be broadcasting to the Galactic Council. Admiral Park spoke. Her voice was calm and clear. It carried through every speaker in the station, in every language, to every delegate. This message is for all members of the Galactic Council. I am Admiral Hannah Park of the United Human Federation. 40 years ago, humanity came to you in peace. We asked for friendship. We asked for partnership. We asked for nothing more than the right to exist among you as equals. The chamber was completely silent now. 300 species stared at the human woman on the screen. You answered our friendship with chains, Admiral Park continued. You answered our partnership with cages. You answered our desire for equality with a secret plan to contain us forever. We know what you did. We know what you planned. And now you will learn what humanity does when it is threatened. She paused. When she spoke again, her words hit like weapons. The United Human Federation declares total war on the Galactic Council. This is not a negotiation. This is not a threat. This is a fact. From this moment forward, every council species is an enemy of Earth. Prepare yourselves. The screen went dark. For 3 heartbeats, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The silence was so heavy, it seemed to crush the air itself. Then the chaos began. Delegates scrambled from their platforms. Some ran for the exits. Others tried to reach communication stations. The Velith ambassador clicked wildly, calling for his guards. The Marundi representative, floating in his water suit, gurgled commands into a communicator. Alarms began to sound throughout the station. "Hi, Chancellor." Korvax shouted for order, but his voice was lost in the noise. Security forces rushed into the chamber, weapons drawn, unsure who to protect or what to do. Nobody had attacked the Council in over 50,000 years. They had no plans for this. They had no idea what to do in the middle of all this madness. Ambassador Taiho Kim stood perfectly still on his platform. A Veleth guard approached him with weapon raised. "Human, explain this. What is the meaning of this attack?" Taiho looked at the guard with calm eyes. "Attack? There has been no attack yet. That was just a message? Just a message?" The guard's voice rose with fear. "Your species just declared war on 300 civilizations. You are outnumbered by billions. This is insanity." Taiho smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret that would change everything. "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe you should ask yourself why we would do something so insane. Maybe you should wonder what we know that makes us confident enough to challenge the entire galaxy." The guard stepped back, suddenly uncertain. Around them, the chaos continued. Delegates fled the station. Emergency ships launched from every dock. Communications flooded outward to 300 homeworlds. Carrying the same terrible news, the humans had declared war on the human platform. Taiho reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button. Far away, on 100 hidden human ships scattered across the galaxy, lights began to blink. Weapons powered up. Engines hummed to life. 40 years of waiting was over. 40 years of smiling and nodding and accepting insults was finished. Humanity had shown the galaxy its true face. That face was not smiling anymore. Taiho looked up at the panicked aliens around him. He thought about all the times they had laughed at human requests. All the times they had rejected human proposals. All the times they had looked at his species like they were animals in a zoo. "You should have been kinder to us," he said to no one in particular. "You really should have been kinder." The station shook as the first human warship dropped out of hyperspace nearby. Through the transparent walls of the chamber, delegates could see it. A massive vessel covered in weapons, its hull painted with words in human language. The name of the ship was simple. It was called No Mercy. And so the war began. 3 days had passed since the human declaration of war. The Galactic Council had moved to an emergency bunker deep inside a fortified moon. Security was everywhere. Fear was thicker than the air itself. High Chancellor Korvax stood before the assembled. Representatives of 112 species. The others had not arrived yet. Some were too far away. Some were too scared to travel. And some, Korvax suspected, were already thinking about which side might win. "We must understand what we face," Korvax said. His forearms moved as he spoke, a sign of stress in his species. "Before we can fight this war, we must know why it started. Our intelligence services have been working without rest. Director Morith will present the findings." A small creature with large black eyes stepped forward. Director Morith was a seeker, a species known for gathering information. His people had been the Council's spies for millennia. "What we have discovered is disturbing," Moroth began. His voice was soft, but carried through the silent chamber. "For 40 years, we believed humanity was a weak, primitive species, slowly learning to join galactic civilization. We were wrong. We were completely, terribly wrong." He activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air. Star maps, ship designs, personnel files. The faces of human military leaders looked down at the assembled aliens. "This is Defense Coordinator Ming Ji-yoon," Moreth said, highlighting one face. A young human woman with sharp eyes and a slight smile. For 15 years, she served as Earth's representative to the Council's cultural exchange program. She attended parties. She gave speeches about human art and music. She seemed harmless. The image changed to show military installations hidden inside asteroids. During those same 15 years, she was secretly building the largest military force humanity has ever created. Shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, training camps on moons we never bothered to scan, weapons factories deep underground on human colony worlds. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Velith ambassador clicked angrily. How is this possible? We had trade restrictions. Technology embargoes. They should not have been able to build anything without our knowledge. That is the second disturbing discovery, Morith continued. They did not need our technology. They built their own. Different designs. Different methods. Things we have never seen before. New images appeared. Human weapons that fired projectiles at incredible speeds. Armor that could repair itself. Ships with engines that worked on principles the Council's scientists could not understand. Humans are creative, Morath explained. When we denied them access to our technology, they invented alternatives. In some cases, their alternatives are better than what we have. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Better? Impossible? Humans were primitives. They had only been in space for a few centuries. Korvax raised all four arms for silence. There is more. Tell them about the conspiracy. Morith's large eyes blinked slowly. Yes, the conspiracy. This is perhaps the most important piece of information. It explains why the humans declared war. The holographic display changed again. This time, it showed records from the Council's own archives. Documents stamped with high security clearances. Meeting notes from sessions that officially never happened. 40 years ago, when humanity first made contact with the galaxy, the Council held a secret meeting. Only the elder races attended. Only the most powerful species. They discussed what to do about humans. Morith paused. The silence was heavy with guilt. The decision was unanimous. Humanity was too dangerous to be allowed freedom. Not because they were strong, but because they were adaptable. They evolved on a planet that tried to kill them constantly. Ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, predators, even their own weapons. Humanity survived everything their world threw at them. Images of Earth appeared. Volcanoes erupting, hurricanes destroying cities, humans rebuilding again and again. The elder races recognized this pattern. A species that refuses to die is a species that will eventually become powerful. So they decided to contain humanity, quietly, secretly, without humans ever knowing. The list appeared on screen. Trade restrictions designed to slow human economic growth. Technology embargoes presented as safety regulations. Diplomatic isolation disguised as cultural respect. Every obstacle humanity had faced in the Council was revealed as part of a deliberate plan. The humans were supposed to stay trapped in their small corner of the galaxy, Morith said. They were supposed to remain weak and controllable until the elder races decided what to do with them permanently. The Marundi representative raised a fin-like appendage. You say the humans discovered this conspiracy. How? We do not know exactly. But we have identified the likely source. Another face appeared on screen. A human woman with gray hair and eyes that seemed to look through the image. Intelligence Director Sujin Beek. She has led human intelligence operations for 12 years. Our best estimate is that she discovered the conspiracy shortly after taking command. 12 years, Korvax repeated. They have known for 12 years, as High Chancellor. For 12 years, humanity has been preparing for this war while pretending to be peaceful. Every smile was a lie. Every handshake was a deception. They learned patience from us, and they used it against us. The chamber fell into stunned silence. The aliens looked at each other with new understanding. They had thought themselves clever. They had thought they were controlling the humans. But all along, the humans had been controlling them. A young Velith delegate spoke up. How bad is it? What are our chances? Morith's expression, if his species could be said to have expressions, looked grim. We have 300 species. They have one. We have millions of ships. They have perhaps 10,000. By numbers alone, we should win easily. But, the delegate pressed. But humans do not fight like other species. They do not calculate acceptable losses. They do not retreat when the odds are bad. They have a concept in their language called spite. It means they will hurt you, even if it costs them everything. They will burn their own house down just to make sure you burn with them. The holographic display showed footage from human history. Wars they had fought against each other, the terrible weapons they had created, the unbelievable determination they showed even in hopeless situations. Humans have a saying, Morith concluded. It goes like this: if you strike at a king, you must kill him. We did not kill humanity when we had the chance. We put them in a cage instead. And now they have broken out, and they are very, very angry. Korvax looked around the chamber at the frightened faces of the galaxy's rulers. For 10,000 years, his species had led the council. They had faced threats before. They had always won, but looking at the data on the screen, looking at the images of human soldiers and human ships and human weapons, Korvax felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. Real fear. Prepare our fleets, he ordered. All of them. We go to war. But even as he spoke the words, he wondered if it was already too late. The Velith shipyards orbited there. Homeworld's fourth moon like a ring of metal and fire. For 3,000 years, these shipyards had built the finest warships in the galaxy. 17 massive stations connected by bridges and tunnels. 100,000 workers. The pride of the Velith Empire. Fleet Commander Sun Wu Li looked at them through the bridge window of his flagship. He was a thin man with scars on his hands from years of combat training. Behind him, the crew worked silently at their stations. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. All ships report ready, Commander, his second officer announced. Enemy defense fleet. 240 ships. Standard Velith combat formation. They are hailing us. Sun Wu nodded. Put them on screen. Velith Admiral appeared on the display. Its insect-like face was twisted with anger. Mandibles clicked as it spoke. Human vessel. You are in Velith space without permission. Turn back now or face destruction. You are outnumbered 10-1. Sun Wu smiled. It was not a kind smile. Admiral, I have a question for you. Do you know what happens when you step on a wasp nest? The Velith Admiral paused, confused. What? The wasps come out? All of them. And they do not care how big you are. They only care about one thing: making you pay. Sun Wu cut the communication. He turned to his crew. All ships! Attack formation. Target the central shipyard first. Today we teach the galaxy what humans are made of. 24 human warships accelerated toward 240 Velith defenders. The math said this was suicide. The math was wrong. The battle began with fire. Velith weapons were energy-based, clean, precise, designed to disable enemy ships without causing unnecessary damage. They were civilized weapons for civilized warfare. Human. Weapons were different. The first volley from Sun Wu's fleet consisted of solid, metal projectiles accelerated to nearly the speed of light. They hit the Velith formation like a hammer hitting glass. 6 enemy ships simply ceased to exist. Not disabled. Not damaged. Gone. The Velith Admiral screamed orders. His ships returned fire. Energy beams struck human hulls, burning through armor and melting systems. A human destroyer lost power and began to drift. Then something impossible happened. The crew of the damaged destroyer did not abandon ship. Instead, they sealed the damaged sections, rerouted power manually, and brought weapons back online. The ship was half destroyed. Its hull was open to space in 3 places. But it kept fighting. As Captain Jiang Han of the destroyer stubborn, a voice crackled over the communication channel. We lost main power and half our crew. Weapons are at 30%. Still in the fight? Still angry, the Velith Admiral watched in horror as the crippled human ship destroyed 2 of his cruisers before finally going dark. This was not how wars were fought. When a ship was damaged beyond function, you surrendered or retreated. You did not keep fighting. You did not sacrifice yourself to take enemies with you, but humans did. Across the battlefield, the pattern repeated. Human ships took damage that should have killed them. Human crews fought through injuries that would incapacitate any other species. When their ships finally died, many of them crashed deliberately into enemy vessels, causing even more destruction. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, The Velith shipyards were burning wreckage. 173 council ships were destroyed. The remaining 67 fled in panic. The humans lost 19 ships. But every single human pilot and crew member had fought until they physically could not continue. On the planet below, Velith civilians watched the fires in orbit and understood something terrible. The humans were not just dangerous. They were completely insane. And there was nothing more frightening than an enemy who did not fear death. Far away in the Marundi system, a different kind of battle was taking place. Special Envoy Una Choi walked into the Marundi High Parliament without an escort. She was a small woman with a gentle face that made people trust her. She had used that face to gather secrets for 15 years. The Marundi are aquatic beings who lived in pressurized water environments. Their parliament building was filled with flowing currents and filtered light. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. Una's words were not peaceful. Honored representatives, she began, I am not here to negotiate. I am here to deliver a message. The Marundi Prime Minister floated forward. You dare come here alone? After your species attacked the Velith, we should arrest you. You could try, Una smiled. But first, please look at the data I am sending to your screens. The Parliament displays activated. Maps appeared showing the Marundi homeworld, their oceans, their underwater cities, and 17 specific locations marked in red. During our cultural exchanges over the past 40 years, human scientists studied your species very carefully. We learned about your biology, your pressure requirements, your breeding cycles. Those 17 locations are critical points in your ocean circulation system. The Parliament fell silent. If we destroy those points, your ocean currents will change. Water pressure in your cities will fluctuate beyond safe limits. Your population will die. Not all at once. Slowly. Over months. We estimate 60% casualties in the first year. The Prime Minister's fins trembled. You would not dare. That would be genocide. Yes, it would. Una's voice was calm, cold. We would prefer not to do this. War is expensive. Death is wasteful. But we will do it, if necessary. This is not a threat. This is information. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. You have 2 days to announce your withdrawal from the Council Coalition. After that, our submarines begin deployment. The choice is yours. She walked out without looking back. 2 days later, the Marundi announced their neutrality. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The Velith shipyards destroyed. The Marundi threatened into submission. Human ground forces capturing colony worlds with impossible speed. Reports came in of human soldiers fighting for 30 hours without sleep. Human medics performing surgery while under enemy fire. Human commanders making decisions that seemed crazy but somehow worked in a council prisoner facility. A captured human officer named Do Yan Kong sat calmly while interrogators demanded answers. Why do you fight like this? The interrogator screamed. You cannot win. The numbers are against you. Do Yan looked at his captor with tired but unbroken eyes. You want to know why we fight? Because you tried to cage us. Because you looked at our species and decided we were too dangerous to be free. You were right about one thing. We are dangerous. But you made a mistake. You should have killed us when you had the chance. Now, it is too late. He smiled. Now you get to find out what happens when humans have nothing left to lose. The interrogator stepped back. Suddenly afraid of the prisoner in chains, the war was only beginning. 6 months into the war, the Galactic Council was falling apart. 18 species had declared neutrality. 12 more had withdrawn from the coalition entirely. The remaining forces were scattered across dozens of fronts, trying to defend too many systems with too few ships. And everywhere they looked, human vessels appeared from nowhere, struck hard, and vanished before counterattacks could arrive. High Chancellor Corvax had aged 10 years in 6 months. His gray skin had turned pale. His forearms moved slowly as if carrying invisible weights. He sat alone in his private chambers. Reading the latest intelligence reports, the numbers were getting worse every day. A chime announced a visitor. Korvax did not look up. Enter. Ambassador Tai-Ho Kim walked into the room. He was escorted by 4 guards, but he moved like a free man. His hands were not bound. His expression was peaceful. "You asked to see me, Chancellor?" Korvax finally raised his eyes. "I want to understand. Before this war destroys everything, I want to know the truth." "All of it," Tai-Ho nodded slowly. He sat down across from the most powerful being in the galaxy, as if they were old friends sharing tea. "What do you want to know?" "The conspiracy. We know about it now. Our own archives revealed it. But I want to know how you found out. How long you knew. Why you waited so long to act." Tai-Ho was quiet for a moment. Then he began to speak. 12 years ago, Intelligence Director Sujin Beek intercepted a transmission between Dominion officials. They were discussing something called the Containment Protocol. At first, she thought it was about a disease or a biological threat. Then she discovered the truth. He leaned forward slightly. The protocol was about us, humanity. It detailed every restriction placed on our species since first contact. Trade limitations designed to slow our economy. Technology embargoes to keep us primitive. Diplomatic isolation to prevent us from making allies. Everything we thought was bad luck or bureaucratic difficulties was actually planned, coordinated, deliberate. Korvax did not deny it. There was no point in denial anymore. When Director Beek brought this information to our government, we had a choice. We could confront the Council immediately. But we were weak, unprepared. You would have destroyed us easily, so you decided to prepare in secret, Korvax said. Yes, for 12 years we smiled at your representatives. We accepted your insults. We pretended to be the harmless primitives you believed us to be. And every day we've built ships, trained soldiers, developed weapons. We turned our entire civilization into a machine designed for one purpose: revenge. Tai-Ho shook his head. Not revenge. Survival. Chancellor, we did not want this war. We wanted what we asked for at first contact: friendship, partnership, a place in the galaxy as equals. You denied us that. You tried to lock us in a cage forever. What were we supposed to do? Accept our chains? Watch our children grow up as second-class citizens in a galaxy that feared and hated them? Korvax had no answer. My daughter was born after the conspiracy was discovered, Tai-Ho continued. His voice became softer. I watched her grow up knowing that the galaxy had already decided her future. She would never be allowed to travel freely among the stars. She would never be treated as an equal by other species. Her entire life would be limited by decisions made before she was born. He paused. I did not become Earth's ambassador because I loved politics. I became ambassador because I wanted my daughter to have a better future. Even if I had to lie and scheme and eventually help start a war to make it happen, The room was silent. Outside, distant explosions marked another battle in a war that had already cost millions of lives. There is something else you should know, Tai-Ho said. Something our intelligence services discovered recently. Something that made this war inevitable, even without the containment conspiracy. Korvax waited. The elder races were discussing a final solution. Documents from 17 years ago? Meetings between your species and the other founding members of the Council? You were debating whether to eliminate humanity entirely? The Chancellor's face showed shock. Real shock. That is impossible. I never authorized such discussions. You did not need to. Your predecessors did. The debate was ongoing. Some argued for immediate action. Others wanted to wait until a convenient excuse appeared. A few suggested slower methods. Engineered diseases. Economic collapse. Accidents in human space that would reduce our population. Korvax felt sick. He had not known about this. He had inherited the containment policy, but believed it was temporary. A precaution until humanity proved itself trustworthy. We found those documents 3 years ago, Tai-Ho said. That is when we stopped preparing and started counting down. The war declaration was never a question of if. Only when the ambassador stood up. You asked for the truth, Chancellor. Here it is. Humanity did not start this conflict. You did. 40 years ago, when you decided that a species you had never wronged was too dangerous to exist freely, every death in this war on both sides is the result of that decision. He walked toward the door. Korvax called out. What happens now? What do your people want? Tai-Ho stopped. He did not turn around. We want what we always wanted. Freedom, equality, a future for our children that is not decided by fearful strangers in distant chambers. Surrender now, and we will give you those things in return. We are not monsters, Chancellor. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We just refuse to be slaves in it. He left the room. The guards followed, leaving Korvax alone with his thoughts. Hours later, Chancellor called an emergency session of the remaining council members. He presented the full truth. The containment conspiracy, the elimination discussions. Everything humanity had discovered and everything they had done in response, the reaction was chaos. Some demanded continued fighting. Others called for immediate surrender. A few blamed Korvax personally for the disaster. In the middle of the shouting, a new transmission arrived. It showed Earth's hidden fleet emerging from concealment in 17 different locations across the galaxy. 3,000 warships, where intelligence had estimated 300, each one bristling with weapons. Each one crewed by humans who had been waiting their entire lives for this moment. The message accompanying the transmission was simple. This is Admiral Hannah Park. You have seen our patience. You have seen our anger. Now see our strength. The next communication will be our terms for your surrender. Consider them carefully. The screen went dark in the council chamber. No one was shouting anymore. The war ended on a cold morning aboard the Human. Flagship Defiance. 14 months of fighting had changed the galaxy forever. Billions were dead. Entire worlds had burned. The great fleets of the Council, built over thousands of years, were scattered wreckage drifting through empty space. And humanity, the primitive species that everyone had underestimated, stood victorious. Admiral Hannah Park waited in the Defiance-S main conference room. She wore her dress uniform, cleaned and pressed for the occasion. Behind her stood General Jahomoon and Intelligence, Director Sujin Beek. Their faces showed exhaustion, but also something else. Pride. The door opened. Hi, Chancellor Korvax entered, followed by representatives from the surviving council species. They walked slowly, like people attending a funeral. In a way, they were. The old Galactic Council was dead. Today, they would learn what would replace it. Korvax stopped before Admiral Park. He looked at her with eyes that held no more pride, no more superiority, only the acceptance of defeat. Admiral Park, we have come to discuss terms. There is nothing to discuss, Hannah replied. The terms have been decided. You are here to accept them or face the consequences of refusal. The Chancellor closed his eyes briefly. Then tell us what you demand. Hannah activated a holographic display. Documents appeared in the air, Tetsuan in 100 languages simultaneously. Article 1. The Galactic Council is dissolved. All authority, all treaties, all agreements made under its name are void. In its place, we will create a new organization. A true federation where every species has equal standing. No elder races. No primitive classifications. One species, one vote. No exceptions. Murmurs spread among the council representatives. Equal standing? Species that had ruled for millions of years would have the same power as newcomers? It was unthinkable. Article 2. All containment protocols against humanity are permanently cancelled. All restrictions on human trade, technology, and movement are removed. Humans will have full access to every system, every station, every opportunity that other species enjoy. This was expected. The council representatives nodded grimly. Article 3. There will be no punishment for the crimes committed against humanity. No executions. No imprisonments. No reparations. The war is over. We will not continue it through legal means. This surprised them. They had expected revenge. They had prepared for harsh demands, massive payments, perhaps even the occupation of their homeworlds. Mercy was not something they had anticipated. Korvac spoke carefully. You could demand anything. Your fleet surrounds our remaining systems. Your soldiers occupy our stations. Why show restraint? Admiral Park was silent for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than before. Because we remember what we are fighting for. 14 months ago, we declared war because the galaxy tried to cage us. Because powerful species decided that our future should be limited by their fear. If we now use our victory to become the oppressors, we become exactly what we fought against. She looked at each council representative in turn. Humanity does not want an empire. We do not want slaves or subjects. We want partners, equals, a galaxy where our children and your children can grow up together without fear or hatred. That is the future we are building. That is the only future worth building. The ceremony continued. Documents were signed. Oaths were spoken. The old order ended and a new one began. Afterward, General Jiho-moon oversaw the demilitarization of Council forces. He treated the defeated soldiers with a respect that confused them. Prisoners were released. Wounded enemies were healed in human hospitals. Food and supplies were sent to worlds damaged by the fighting.
Why are you helping us?
A Velith commander asked. We were your enemies. Jiho smiled slightly. You were our enemies. Past tense. The war is over. Now we are neighbors. Neighbors help each other. The commander did not understand. His species held grudges for generations. They never forgot an insult, never forgave a wound. The idea of treating a defeated enemy with kindness seemed like weakness. But watching the human general organize aid shipments for Velith civilians, the commander began to wonder if maybe he had been wrong about what strength really meant on Earth. President Haiyan Shin addressed the united human population. She stood on a platform overlooking the rebuilt city of Seoul, where the first human spacecraft had launched 2 centuries before. Today, we celebrate victory, she said. But we must also remember the cost. Millions of our people died in this war. Fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, friends and lovers. They gave their lives so that we could be free. The crowd was silent. Flags waved gently in the wind. We did not ask for this war. We did not want it. But when the galaxy tried to cage us, we had no choice but to fight. And fight we did. With everything we had, with everything we were, her voice grew stronger. The galaxy learned something about humanity these past 14 months. They learned that we do not surrender. We do not give up. We do not accept limits placed on us by others. They called us primitives. They called us dangerous. They tried to contain us, control us, eliminate us. She paused. They failed. The crowd erupted in cheers. After years of hiding, years of pretending, years of preparing for a war they hoped would never come, humanity could finally celebrate openly. Months later, Ambassador Taiho Kim took his seat in the new Federation Assembly. The chamber was different from the old council building. No species had a better position than another. All platforms were equal. All voices carried the same weight. A young Velith delegate approached him after the first session. Ambassador Kim, may I ask you a question? Taiho nodded. Double quotes. How did you do it? How did your species, so young and so outnumbered, defeat the entire galaxy? Taiho thought about the question. He thought about his daughter, now grown, who worked as an engineer on a human starship. He thought about all the years of smiling and waiting and planning. He thought about the soldiers who had died and the families who had sacrificed everything. We did not do anything impossible, he said finally. We simply refused to accept that anything was impossible. The galaxy told us we were too weak to fight. We fought anyway. The galaxy told us we could not win. We won anyway. Every time someone told us something could not be done, we found a way to do it. He smiled. That is what it means to be human. We do not see walls. We see challenges. We do not see endings. we see beginnings. The universe is vast and full of wonders, and we will explore every corner of it. Not because we must, but because we can, because nothing will ever cage us again. The Velith delegate was silent, processing these words. Around them, the new Federation began its work, building treaties, establishing trade routes, creating a future where every species had a chance to reach for the stars and humanity. Once dismissed as primitives, once feared as dangerous, took their place among them. Not as conquerors, not as rulers, as equals. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly as humanity intended.